Hey everybody, this is Troy over at Uncomfortable Truths. Thanks for checking me out. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk because he took a position that I strongly disagree with. However, before we get into this, I do want to point out that Kyle Kulinski, though we're on different sides of the political spectrum, is somebody that I actually have some respect for. He's been really critical of people that want to do any sort of canceling. He is very much a free speech absolutist. He's saying, look, you can say what you want. And then if you actually do something or say something that crosses a legal boundary, then you can be charged for breaking that law. So when it comes to free speech, he has advocated for people both on the left and the right that have been had their, freedom of speech trampled on. So on that, that's something I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And so I was a little bit disappointed actually to see his more recent take that he has against Donald Trump when it comes to this various states actually taking him off the ballot, because I very much think that this is something that should be left to the American voters. The people in those states should be allowed to determine for themselves whether or not Donald Trump is, eligible for the presidency and whether or not they're willing to vote for him. But anyway, I'm going to give you a direct quote from Kyle Kulinski. I'll also have his full video in the description. I urge you to check the video out. There's actually a lot of great stuff there. He talks quite a bit about how the Democrats are actually kind of undermining their own credibility when it comes to their, trust and faith and a defense of democracy. So check the video out. But this is the one issue that I strongly disagreed with him in this video. And he says, the takeaway for me is undeniable. He's got to be taken down by one of the 91 criminal charges, or more importantly, he should be taken down by the Supreme Court where they say, sorry, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment applies the insurrection clause, and you're disqualified from running for office. So that was Kyle Kulinski. And I do want to say that, sure, if he's guilty of insurrection, of course, the 14th Amendment would apply, but we don't all agree that he was actually guilty of an insurrection or aiding and abetting one. So while, yes, the 14th Amendment says that you obviously can't support an insurrection or give any aid to those who do, that actually isn't clarified as to what constitutes aid and what constitutes an insurrection. So if it's so clear that Trump has actually committed an insurrection or aided people that have, why hasn't he been charged for this? Because if he's been charged of this and found guilty, you wouldn't see me out here actually making a case that he should be allowed on the ballot. It would be a pretty cut and dry thing of, yes, the 14th Amendment applies in this case. So the problem is that it also doesn't say what constitutes an insurrection, which could come back to bite you on the other end. So you had Bernie Sanders out for years calling for a revolution. So does that constitute an insurrection? Could Texas or any other red state then say, hey, look, this guy wants a revolution, and revolutions historically have not been great. Like, so can we then kick Bernie Sanders off the ballot? Now, I would say, no, of course not. You can't kick somebody out for that. You would have to prove that he was actually engaged in insurrection. And if you then prove it, then yeah, go ahead and take him off. But until it's actually proven, then no, you can't just go and take your political adversaries off of the ballot. Like, that's undemocratic and it's unacceptable. And Kyle Kulinski is a guy who consistently advocates for more democracy. He very strongly believes in democracy. And I'll give you a couple of examples on this. He's somebody that says that we should actually have direct democracy on every presidential ballot. We should take like the top 3 or 4 issues. I don't know what he says the exact number should be, but we should take these issues and put them on every presidential ballot. And we should let the voters decide, like, hey, should we legalize marijuana on the federal level? Now, I'm actually not opposed to that idea. I think that's a very good idea. And Kyle Kulinski actually goes and says, I think most of the time the American people actually choose the correct option more than, elites do. So if you agree with that stance, which I do, then why are you trying to take the issue of Trump being on the ballot away from voters and put it into the hand of these judges, which almost by definition, if you're a Supreme Court judge, you are part of the elite. So to me, that just doesn't add up. Like, this is a discrepancy in what he's saying. Like, this is also a guy who says that he wants to be tough on crime. He just doesn't want to be tough on crime that he disagrees with. For example, he consistently says that he doesn't think that nonviolent drug offenders should be in jail. They should all be released. Well, so now you're saying that this is a cut and dry issue that, okay, yeah, this is, I'm sorry, but if you don't like what the 14th Amendment says, despite the fact that on this portion of it, it's very vague, is what constitutes an insurrection, we have to apply it. It doesn't matter. But then when it comes to a law that he disagrees with, for example, there are people locked up for nonviolent drug offenses, he says, well, I don't want to enforce that. So on this instance, then you're not being very consistent. Like, you need to come out and actually explain, like, okay, well, why am I consistent on this? And this has to be the case. But on this issue, I'm not. Because from an outsider's perspective, what it looks like is you just don't like Trump. So what you want to do is you want to put Trump in a position where he can't run for office, and you want to take that choice away from the people in those states. And since the Constitution doesn't define insurrection, and he hasn't been found guilty of insurrection, why is Kyle Kulinski's reaction to take this away from the voters? Like, this is the same guy that wants to have democracy in the workplace. He's very much a union dude. And fair enough, but you're just not being intellectually consistent on this issue. So again, I just want to point out, I actually think this guy has been pretty good on a lot of issues. I call him like Vanilla Ice Light. So I am kind of digging the ear piercings and the bleach blonde hair. And honestly, I actually kind of like Kyle Kulinski. I think he is legitimately been a great voice, whether you're on the left or on the right, for saying, like, no, we don't actually disagree. People that we disagree with actually do get to have a platform to speak. And he is very consistent on taking that, which I appreciate. He always challenges people on the right to say, hey, where are you right-wing people out here every time a left-wing person gets canceled? And hey, this is a pretty new show, but I just want to say that I actually agree with your stance on that. And I 100% don't want to see this guy canceled or penalized in any way. But I would like to actually see why he isn't addressing this inconsistency and actually get a little bit more back, because I don't think that Donald Trump should be taken off of the ballot. And I think on this issue, Kyle Kulinski is being intellectually dishonest. Maybe not pointedly, like, I certainly don't think he's necessarily lying, but his stance is intellectually inconsistent with some of the other things that he said, as I've pointed out here. So anyway, everybody, please check out the whole video if you have a few minutes. It's only, I think, like 6 or 7 minutes. And honestly, there's tons of great information in there. So anyway, everybody, hit like and subscribe. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I appreciate the heck out of all of you. Go ahead and share your thoughts in the comment section. I really appreciate all of you doing that. So everybody, have a great new year, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.